Hi everyone, and welcome to week 3 of Fundamentals of Design. I'm going to go ahead and take you through the content for the week and get you comfortable with everything that we're going through. So this week we're diving into color theory, working with it as a design element and various types of color palettes. So this week we're also going to be diving into Photoshop for the first time and doing a color palette in Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. So you can see in my announcements for the week that I also emailed out to you all. I gave you a couple of resources here that are just from me, not specifically from the course. So the first one that I gave you is creating and saving swatches in Illustrator. Another one, it's not a video, you can watch the video here, but it's also a step-by-step breakdown here. You can also use the sample image if you want. It talks about doing a duotone, which is just a 2-color image in Photoshop. Then I also give you a link to Color of the Year, as we're talking about color, and it's really important to know about Pantone. This is what you would be using for any kind of silkscreen printing or anything where you would be doing like apparel design. They deal a lot with Pantone colors versus just CMYK printing. So it's really good because you can click on it, you can read the full article on the specific year that it was hot, and also read branding and campaigns that it was used. So those are just extra readings if you want to check it out. Okay, so we'll dive into the Module 3 content. So you could see here under the resources, this is, again, you want to always go through all the resources before you attempt the projects, especially if you email me and you're like, how do I crop an image? I'm going to send you right back to the resources section because it's right here for you. Okay, so the resources this week, here's a video but just about in general thinking about color with the transcript, so you can read through those. But specifically, if you want to just get down to what the project's about, down here you can see the Photoshop basics and then how to make a color palette in Photoshop. If you've never touched Photoshop or if you're brand new to those softwares, you can just pop right down there and it shows you how to do a color palette in Photoshop. Okay. There's also a video on how to colorize a black and white image in Photoshop, which black and white is really a grayscale image. So that's going to take you step by step how to do the project. Okay. How to create a custom color palette in Illustrator, similar to the one that I posted to you. And then another reading on how to redo your colors in Illustrator without manually having to click on that. Definitely check that one out. That one is worth the time so that you don't have to put as much time into the project, which is just resampling colors and such. Okay, there's also some additional resources down here if you need to look over MLA style. I will get into that. I'm not super strict on that. Talking about different colors through culture and just some really fun things with color psychology. All right. So I'm going to dive in. You have 3 things that we're doing this week. We're doing the activity in Photoshop, which is making a color palette, activity in Illustrator, making a color palette, and then the Module 3 quiz, which is automated. Again, most of you know that by now. So let's go over the 2 activities, because I'm going to actually give you guys a little bit less work this week, because if you can do it once, you don't need to do it 5 times. So congratulations for those of you that are watching the video. You'll be doing less work than the people that are not. Okay, so let's dive into the Photoshop one. So it talks about Photoshop as a popular tool used by graphic designers. I'm sure you all know that. And let's talk about the directions here. So if you scroll down, you'll see there's a resource image here, and I have downloaded it to show you what it looks like. I'm going to just right-click it, open with Photoshop. You'll see it's a grayscale image. Okay, so this is what you'll be using for the assignment. Go back up here. So the first part of it is to bring it into Photoshop. Then you're going to crop it so that the bike is the focal point, and then you're going to crop it to be a 5:7 image. Now it has 2 different things here. You have the pixel widths and then the 5:7. Work whatever way you're comfortable with. I would just make sure that it's a 5:7 image, okay? And then you're going to save out that file as a JPEG image. All right, it's already in a JPEG image, so you shouldn't have issues with that, but work whatever way you're comfortable with, because it's just 2 different ways of saying a 5:7 image, okay? The second part of it, you're going to be making a few color palettes and colorizing the image. Again, if you're not sure how to do it, go back to the resources. There's a ton of videos on how to do it, or just good old YouTube. So the first thing you're doing is you're taking that monochromatic color, which the first monochromatic color you're dealing with is just grayscale. It is just variations of gray. And you're gonna make 5 hues. You don't need to do 5. You could do 1. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. You're gonna take that grayscale image, you're gonna make 1 monochromatic hue out of it. Like, you already have the grayscale image. If you want to make like a blue overtone, that's fine. A red overtone, that's fine. You don't need to do one tone 5 different ways, because for me, I'm seeing that you know how to do it just by showing me it one time. Okay? So again, the black and white image, you're going to create a monochromatic image, and it could be anything. It could be red, it can be blue, whatever you want to do, and you only have to do it one time, not 5. Okay? So you're going to take the monochromatic color palette and select it to the imported grayscale image. It says include the color swatches of your monochromatic color palette above or below the image. You can put it on top of the image, that's fine. Like, if you want to import, like, it's not so much important for the monochromatic, it's more important for when you have multiple image or multiple colors. Like, I'll be able to open it and be like, okay, they use cyan, or they use like a Pantone color. Okay? But when you get into the tutorials, you'll see exactly how they did that in Photoshop and Illustrator. Okay? And then you're going to go back to those color theories, and you're going to be doing an analogous color. It says analogous color of 5 colors. Again, you don't have to do 5 separate ones. Just show me that you can do analogous one time. That you can do complementary colors one time. Okay, so it says complementary color palette of 5 colors. I don't need you to do that. Like, you can go in there and be like, okay, I know what complementary colors are. Those are, on the color wheel opposite of each other. Do it one time. So I'm basically cutting your work in half, because if you can do it one time, I know you can do it 4 more times. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Just cutting your workload in half, because I'm not a fan of busy work. Okay, then you're going to save each of those colorized version as a JPEG image, and those are what you're going to give me back in the files area for the assignment. Okay, so let's see. So down here you have the template for that. Okay, so you can see here the rubric is looking at a couple of different things. Did you import it into Photoshop? Did you crop it correctly? Did you resize it to the size that I asked for? Again, 625 by 875 does mean 5 by 7. Did you give it back to me as JPEG files? So you'd lose points there if you gave me a PSD file, because that's not what I'm asking for. And then it's asking, did you give me a monochromatic? Did you give me the analogous, and so forth? Okay, so you can read through the rest of that, because I already kind of talked about that. Okay, the second part of the activity is dealing with the file down here, which is the Tigers mini poster. So if you just double click on it, most likely it'll open up in Acrobat. So what you want to do is you want to right click it, open with, and open in Illustrator. Again, you're going to want to watch all those resources to recolor this guy. If you hit Command Y, you'll see that this is all outlined so that you can select things here. Okay, so this is your exercise file for the Modulo 3 activity on Illustrator. So it's talking about, as a freelance designer, sometimes you have multiple color variations. You can read through all of this on your own time. So the first thing we're doing is developing a color palette for the above scenario. So you're doing a color palette of 5 colors using Adobe Illustrator. So in this one, you're going to keep the 5 colors. So 5 squares of color above or below the image to indicate your color palette. Then you can right click those and you can make them into your swatches, and I'll be able to see them there. So then you're going to take those selected colors and apply it to the poster. And then all you're going to do after you do that is you're going to save that file as a PDF file for me. Okay, so again, this one is in Illustrator. You're going to use the 5 separate color swatches, and at the end you're going to give me a PDF file. Again, you just saw me open up a PDF file in Illustrator. That's exactly what I'm going to do with your file. Okay, the second part of this is getting down to the client aspect of it. I realize I read this, it's a little lame, but bear with me. You're going to be writing an email to your client explaining your reasons for choosing the colors. Now, realistically, 5 colors is a really big color job, but you just have to roll with it for the rubric here. Okay, so you're going to be telling the client in this email what type of palette you created, why you chose it, how does it align with their client's causes, and what emotions it might provoke in like your collateral, like pretend it's a poster because it looks like a poster. Okay, so this is where you have to get a little creative with your writing. So if you come down here to the rubric, these are the things that I'm looking for. Okay, the first thing is your color palette from Illustrator in a PDF. The second part is an email. Okay, so it talks about MLA style. I'm not strict with that. Like as long as it's literate, like I take points off for things like did you spell things incorrectly? You know, did you write a sentence instead of multiple, like a multi-line email? So I'm looking for things here like did you do the color palette of 5 colors? Did you apply it to the artwork? Did you give it to me in the file that I needed? And then this is the writing portion. Like if it's got a lot of typos, that's where I'll like take points off, specifically under the articulation down here. Okay, so it's a super fun week, really applying some of that color knowledge that you're going to have, and everybody have a great week.